can make some 2%, 3% performance enhancement, and we can find out, we can show some improvements. So that is called the basic research. For example, in a residence, if we can we can introduce some energy efficiency scheme by introducing LED bulbs instead of incandescent bulb. Thereby, we can save some amount of energy, and we can do some sort of energy saving strategies. So, how to improve the energy efficiency? If you are introducing this LED bulb, this much amount of energy can be saved. This much amount of energy can be saved. This much amount of cost saving is there. This much amount of carbon dioxide emissions can be reduced. So, this is a fundamental research. We can do some basic ideas. We can introduce a small ideas in a residential application, and we can change the existing methodology of using. We can use some energy efficient schemes or energy efficient methods in a lighting system, and we can change. We can improve the. We can reduce the energy consumption. Thereby, we can have some energy savings. So such type of is a fundamental basic research. This is a known fact. We can introduce as a case study in a particular application, and we can make some changes. Then we can reduce and we can explore that one. So there is a fundamental basic. It's called basic research. Then the strategic based means it is a theoretical and experimental research to explore the new ideas. And nowadays, it is to have a PhD problem means that definitely there will be some sort of experimental experimentation. It should be validated with some theoretical works. So for that, we need to develop some mathematical model by means of some artificial intelligence models like neural networks, or we can use a genetic algorithm, or we can go for some hybrid approach with genetic algorithm and neural network, and fuzzy logic also we can introduce, and neuro fuzzy also. So there is so many methods we can have to we can develop and to validate this experimental results. So such type of it is called the strategic base, but it should be a very new innovative idea. So it should be a new innovative idea. For example, if you want to produce a producing a new desalination system using a renewable energy, so that systems that we are doing on doing as a PhD research work in our lab in our institution. We are developing a solar air heater, solar still and heat pumps. It's a new idea. So it's a totally new idea, and we are planning to execute as an experimental work, and as well as we can develop some mathematical modeling for to support this experimental work. So that work is going. So the such type of research activities can be categorized as a strategic based research work, and then applied based research. So is a very interesting one. So we can apply the concepts for some real time applications. For example, the heat pump heating technology is it's an upcoming field. We are introducing this heat pump technology for drying, desalination, for space heating, and for greenhouse heating. And also recently, I'm doing on consultancy services for the to have a heat pump assisted tunnel dryers. So the dryers are having some problems during night time. They're having the deabsorption problems are there. So during the daytime, the enough solar energy were received by the solar dryer, that the moisture from the product will be taking out, and it will be exhaust to the atmosphere. But during night time, because of lack of solar radiation, that the tunnel time inside the tunnel, the temperature falls down below the atmospheric temperature. So because of that reason, there may be a chance of deabsorption is taking place, because the moisture in the product may deabsorb the moisture. That for such problems, we are overcome with the help of some heat pumps heating systems, which we are introduced in recently in one tunnel dryer, and thereby we are improving this performance. Then we are applying our technology for the real-time applications, and thereby we can improve some energy savings. Thereby we can be having some cost savings, and thereby we have some environmental benefits also. So such type is called the applied research. And then academic research means it is based on the academic activities as part of our students' academic projects. So we can convert as we can assign few assignments to the project students as in a form of academic projects. Thereby the student can gain some knowledge. Thereby student can develop a small product and can develop a small testing work. Thereby we can publish some articles. So we have done a lot of academic research projects in our department, and based on the students' projects, we have developed some experimental prototypes. That prototype we can test it and it can be converted as a journal article. So such type of it is a preliminary activity. It is called the academic research activity. Then industrial research means it is also, so we have to provide some solutions to the industrial problems. For example, a lot of foundries they are having a big problem on energy savings because there are a lot of heat is wasting in foundries. So because of lack of insulation, because of lack of energy conservation measures, the energy wastage in especially in the foundries, it's an energy is a designated customers. So I think the foundries are also having the designated customers because they are a very energy intensive. Uh, they are they are wasting a lot of energy, lot of heat, especially in industries, foundries, especially in foundries. So it is very essential, and we can apply our basic concept, basic ideas, what we have learned, and we can try to save some amount of energy, especially in the industrial. They are done some energy audit, and they're having some energy savings by 5%. They're having a 5% because of that. They can save at least 5 lakhs per month. So their electricity bill they're saving 5 lakhs per month. They're having a 5%. I think they are paying nearly 1 crore electricity bill, but it's given information given by the general manager. So is our associate with our department. So I think that they're having this. It is very essential that such electricity 5% saving is having a very significant amount. Thereby we can have a we can if we have a very significant energy saving is there. Thereby we can it is possible to have very good uh, environmental benefit is there. So carbon dioxide emissions can be significantly we can reduce. So that way we can provide some solutions to such type of industry problems. And also we can go for example, if it is a milk chilling industries, milk chilling plants is very it needs some sort of energy efficient solutions. So a lot of energy is wasting. So in food processing industries, and also for the if you take some big chemical process industries, there are a lot of heat is wasting. So such industries we need to have focus, and we can provide some energy efficient solutions. Thereby we can get some cost benefit, technical benefit, some environmental benefit, some technical benefits also. So such type of research projects or research is called industrial research. Then we'll come to the how to select this research problem. So before we are going for it is very essential that we need to select a research problem which based on our postgraduate specialization. Suppose we have done a postgraduate specialization in a particular field, if you have done an industrial engineering, we can go with a PhD problem with the same field. Suppose if we done in some of my friends that done in ME refrigeration air conditioning, but they didn't have a PhD in some other field, which is totally irrelevant to the PhD program. So that may be a problem. So the identifying the problem itself, it is a big problem. Then after identifying the problem, it is very difficult to find the solution for the problem. So this all will leads to a lot of confusions, and this all leads to a lot of will feel stuck in the PhD program because the problem identification itself it will become 2 3 years. Then the PhD duration will become 7 8 years. Then it will be very horrible to you. Being we are working in an private institutions, it is very difficult to manage for 6 7 years. That too, particularly in the age of 30 to 40 years, if you are struggling with 7 to 8 years, then our life is miserable. So we need to be very careful when we are going for choosing a PhD program. So then, for that reason, or otherwise, it is better to go in line with your PG specialization. Suppose if we are not having a good, if we don't have any idea, or otherwise your supervisor should have some idea to take up this research problem, or otherwise it is very difficult. Then it's very difficult and to take up this research problems. And we should make a comprehensive review of this your research article, research work. So we need to collect at least 100 articles which are being published during the last 5 years. Then it is very mandatory. So suppose if it is not available, then we can go at least another 5 years. So please don't go beyond 10 years. So 10 years back, it's totally outdated now, especially in the field of research. It's a fast growing ideas. It's having the fast exploration is taking place. So it is very essential to have to limit the literature review within last 5 years. Please don't go beyond 5 years. So if you go beyond 5 years, means then it will be such research works are totally maybe outdated. But there may be some polish, some methodology maybe we can follow. So we can refer some old articles, but the concepts which were introduced mostly it should be a very new one. So and then that is very important. And we have to select the research articles, especially in the particular in a reputed journal. So please don't go substandard journals. So please refer some standard publishers. For example, Science Direct is there, Elsewhere publishers, Taylor and Francis, InterScience, some Springer. So these are some of the some of the reputed publishers. They're having a very good quality publications. Suppose if we one or two, at least or less than 5% of journal articles, we may go for some substandard journals. Please don't go out of 100 papers. We may have at least 5 papers. You may have you can your own choice. Please don't go beyond that. Then it will be such results are not reliable. Sometimes such results are not reliable. The equations may have some typographical errors. So this all leads to a lot of confusion. It is better to refer some standard journals. That will be a good one, because such type of standard journals having a good pre-review process, and also they're having a very good quality is there, and with good uh, standard is there. So for that reason, it is better to go for such type of journals. Then identify future research extensions, which will be in. It is available in the particular papers, and you can formulate some research objectives based on that. And then, so how to select a research supervisor? It is very important. So selecting a research supervisor, it should be having a lot of research scholars. They're not in position to identify a suitable research supervisors. So just for namesake, you can register PhD, then it is very difficult to very difficult. Then for that reason, it is my suggestion. Please don't mistake me if anything I am wrong. So it is better to select a supervisor who is having very good research experience, or otherwise it is very difficult. In between, will be spread up, or otherwise you should have some research experimental setup, and you should have some research exploration in the field, and you should have some good quality publications, and you should have some research collaboration with other institutions, and we should have uh, and you should have some reputation in that particular field. For example, if I'm asked, if any scholar is registering with me in the topic of material science, I'm not the right person. So I don't know anything about material science, because I'm very to be frank, I'm also if it is a I'm an application wise and some characterization wise, I may have some knowledge, but I'm material processing, and it's basic. I'm not. It's not possible to give a full-fledged technical idea. So how to? I'm not. It's not possible to give a very good technical input to complete the paper. So there is a reason. It is better to select a supervisor with having a good knowledge, good research experience, and is having a good international contacts. So it is very important. So I may be good in heat pump. So that is the reason. So uh, but I assign most of the students. I assign the topics on the heat pump. So heat pump applications, heat pump integration, the desalination, and for drying, and for some water heating, and for some renewable energy type. So, so that is the reason it's very important to have to suggest the research scholars to select a supervisor who is having a very expert in that particular field. So how to formulate the objective? So that is very important for a research work. So the objective, it should be at least 4 or 5 objectives. So 4 or 5 objectives is very important. And for example, we can identify a broad area of research. Suppose if you are working in a field of material science, or if you want to work in material characterization, or if you want to work in renewable energy, or if you are working in some thermal science, or some other. Then first you should make a broad area. For example, I'm identifying the renewable energy as my broad area. Then we can break down into sub areas. Then, for example, if it is renewable means it is we can say have solar, wind, biomass, geothermal, and its hybrid forms. And then the most interested topics. So solar, if you identify solar, again solar we have a dual role. Solar photovoltaic or maybe solar thermal. So we can again convert it as a solar thermal application. Then identifying the different methods. So how to identify the scope of limitations, methods of harvesting. So how to identify how to improve the energy efficiency, how to become make it energy efficient, how to make it as economical one. So how to make it as an environment friendly option. So those feasibility should be assessed, and we need to evaluate the applications. What is the scope of applications of this project? So those things we need to be identified, and then we need to assess this performance, and we need to assess the energy losses, and we need to make some mathematical modeling, and we need to standardize this. Normally, the standardization part is a big in every research activities. Once we can develop some prototype, we can do some testing, and we can do some energy analysis, and we can publish one or two papers, and we'll wind up with the PhD. But it is not like that. We need to standardize the product outcome. We need to standardize the PhD outcome. In most of the our PhD outcomes are not become a standardized, and there is a reason it is not become commercial value. So we need to make it standardization. The standardization itself it is a PhD work. That itself is a PhD work. It's in standardization of, for example, standardization of heat pumps. Standardization of heat pumps. The heat pumps are not. It is a commercialized because of lack of standardizations. So it is very essential to make the product more standardization. So the standardization itself is one objective. So that become a major objective, and we need to assess the market potential. So that is very important. Once our PhD research work, it should have some market value. So, for example, if you are developing a product with some energy efficient product, then that should have some market value. That should be explored in the market. That should be have some. We should before during the problem identification itself. During the problem identification itself, we should identify the research problem. We should have the day-to-day requirement. It should be there. For example, the water heating systems. So the water heating systems, if it is a large volume of water heating is required, so what option we can go for? Heat pump water heating is one of the very good solution. But we need to identify so which what is the capacity of the heat pump? So how what type of heat pump is required? So how to provide such a huge volume of hot water using in an energy efficient way? So the solution is heat pump water heating with some energy efficient compressors. So that what is the scope? What is the market value? So we can assess these are the commercial customers that are requiring expecting this much amount of heating. This much amount of hot water is there. So this much amount of hot water per day is, for example, hotels and lodges that require 1,000 to 2,000 liters of hot water is required. So for providing such solutions for such application demand, and solar water heating systems is not possible to provide. So we have to go for some heat pump heating technologies. So first the objective formulation in an objective, it should be an one objective. That's the reason I'm telling this one. So the one of the objective it should assess the market potential of that particular product, and to standardization. So these two should be a standard objective which we are expecting in any new product development is type of research activities. Then after we making all this objective formulation, everything, so what is the expected outcome in the expected outcomes? It should be a well-defined concept. It should be having some novelty in the concept, and it should be a comprehensive examination. It should be a complete examination. That means, for example, if it is a material processing, means the material processing characterization. Characterization means it should be a comprehensive characterization. It should be having a mechanical property. Then it should be having a mechanical properties that hardness, Poisson ratio, complete all the mechanical properties, then the corrosion studies, then wear studies, then we have some thermal characterization. So and then machining characterization. So this all put together is called the comprehensive examination. So you are the work should have a comprehensive study, and it should have a very good data interpretation and data analysis using some novel methodologies, because the data interpretation is very essential, because we can run some we can run the experiments for example, I'm telling for a 25 degree ambient temperature we may conduct experiment, 30 degree we can conduct experiments. Suppose if we want to have we want to have an data for 27 or 27.5 degrees centigrade, we need to interpret the data. For such data interpretation is very essential using some model advanced techniques like artificial intelligence techniques like our neural network and genetic algorithm we can use. And it should have social relevancy is very important for any PhD, any research work. Any research work, it should have some social relevancy. For example, developing an energy efficient is a very, because the every year we are lagging with energy demand. So every year the growth of energy demand is 10%, means the energy generation capacity may be 1 or 2%. So every year we are lagging. So we need the energy efficient is very essential in future. So because every year we are lagging, so getting a 24-hour power supply, the electric power supply is a very, we are totally we are gifted. So but in most of the places, in most of the places, even in Nepal, they are having the only 16 to 17 hours of electricity per day. For that reason, they are going for the photovoltaic panels. So in India also, we are having the 24-hour power electric power supply. So we are benefited, we are gifted, but at the same time, it is we need to develop some energy efficient methods to conserve the energy. So that is very important, and it should be an environment friendly option. So that our research outcome, it should be an environmentally, and it should be a technically feasible, and it should be an economically feasible for the implementation. So and also for the new findings should be there, and it should have some international acceptance. These are the expected outcomes from their research project. Then for doing this, all the research activities, it is very difficult to do within our, because we don't have all the facilities to complete the work. So for that reason, we need, suppose we may have a very strong in experiments, but we are not good in mathematics. Suppose we have some, there is a problem, we can have a collaboration with some institutions which are very strong in mathematics and modeling. So that is the reason. Moreover, we need to collaborate with other institutions to have to use the research facilities or to share our research facilities. That is it's very essential in the present scenario. So and also to have to share the research our experience with others, and to and also to get have an interdisciplinary exposure. So that is also very important, and also to improve the research productivity. So we need to have a research collaborations. So so what are the different types of research collaborations? Means within ourselves, we we have collaborated with other faculty colleagues within the department or within other departments for this as an interdisciplinary project work within other institutions. For example, our institution is not having the research facilities, so we can use some other institution facility, and then we can make them. We can make have a collaboration, research agreements. Then we can collaborate. So then within the research laboratory, so we have the three different research laboratories. We can have some collaborations and to execute the project smoothly. Then after all these things, we need to make we complete all the research activities, research. Then we can format the journal paper. After making the journal paper, then we need how to publish the paper. So that is very important. So there are different modes of publications. Is the conference publication. Nowadays, it became a conference publication. Is totally it's outdated, because earlier days it's having very high value, but nowadays the conference publications will become outdated because of lack of importance. Because more journals are having the journal publish the papers. That is the reason they're not making it as a that much value, then journal publications will become a mandatory, and there are different types of journals. I'm going to explain in the coming presentations. Then patents, then book chapters. Then so nowadays we are receiving a lot of invitations and book chapters. For example, recently I received a book chapter titled "Recent Advancements in Heat Transfer." I think heat transfer enhancements. So a lot of book chapters are there. We can make a one complete chapter like in a book journal article. So that journal that may have very low, that will not get any citations, but will get a book chapter credit. That's all. So monograms is very similar to the book chapter, but it will make it as a very small booklet form. So then, why to publish our journal research work? So that is very important. It is one way to share, and one way to share our ideas to others. So, for example, for a journal of thermal analysis and calorimetry, I think you may aware of that journal. That journal was started during the year 1969. So last time I have a chance to visit that journal. The journal has conducted a conference at Hungary, Budapest, Hungary. I have a chance to visit that attended conference. So in that conference, they're saying that they're having a own on Budapest University of Technology. They have started initiated the journal. So the main thing is they've done a lot of research and development activities even during the year 1969. They want to explore that their ideas to the society. So that is the reason there's a way to communicate, a way to share their innovations to the public. For that reason, they initiated the Journal of Thermal Analysis and Calorimetry. That is the reason why we to publish. So whatever we have an idea, whatever we have this our innovations, it should be shared to others with the help of journal publication. That is the reason we need to publish. And it is also nowadays it become a mandatory for a promotion, career advancement, and it's also to getting a degree. It is mandatory to publish a journal article. So for that reason, we need to publish. So these are the two major reasons according to me. But for others, we may have still they will explore further more uh, requirements. Okay. Then what to publish? So what to publish our as a journal article? So it should be a new ideas. It should be a review. It's a new ideas means it should be a new innovation, a new configuration, or new retrofitment, new energy efficient method, or it may be an economical method, or it may be an um, environment friendly method. Some ideas it should be a new and it should be an original one, and it should be maybe a review or maybe a summary of subject. Review means we can classify a lot of reviews. I will explain in the coming slides. Then manuscripts, they're having the advanced knowledge and they're having the understanding in a certain scientific field. So that is a very important, interesting thing. And the advanced ideas. Suppose if we have the new ideas to explore some material processing or to characterization methods, we have any new ideas, that possibility we can share. Then what not to publish means then if it's a scientific, it is an outdated work. So please, for example, if you are using basic work, I received some papers for review. That is a totally, it is a totally, it is a, it's a totally, it's outdated work. For example, if you are making a making an refrigerator performance assessment using R134, for example, I am telling. So that is totally it's outdated because nowadays they are using hydrocarbons as or isobutanation or refrigerant. It is a totally outdated work. So why should they publish? It doesn't have any value. So there is a reason. So the a duplication of previous published works. So nowadays the journal by themselves they will segregate the papers according to the novelty. So the editor himself will reject the paper. It is called desk rejection because of the lack of novelty of the paper. So it is very careful. You have to be very careful to publish, to submit the paper. It should have very good technical novelty. It should have environment friendly novelty, and it should have economical feasibility is there. So such type of works are encouraged for the journal publications. And if it is an inaccurate or unacceptable results, please don't go for journal publication. We can make it as the conference publication. We can limit with conference publication. So publishing media, it is preferred to go for conferences conducted by a reputed professional societies. Professional society means ASME is a professional society. They are organizing some conferences at different levels. So then we can go for such type of conferences. Then Indian Society of Heat and Mass Transfer. Then American Society of Heat Refrigeration Air Conditioning Engineers. Then IEEE. So these are my, according to my knowledge, I am sharing this one. So beyond this, there are many professional societies are there, but I don't know. These are my standard societies. What I know, I am introduced here. So beyond this, there are so many professional societies are there. We can share our, we can publish our papers in such type of conferences organized by a professional society, or otherwise the conferences it should have some journal tie-ups. For example, we are also conducted 2-3 conferences with, along with journal tie-ups, so that some special issue has been introduced out of it. So that the authors got benefited out of it. So such type of conferences we can plan. Then and we can publish it in a referred journals like Scopus indexed, Web of Science indexed, Science SCI journals, Science cited index journals. So we can publish our papers in such this type of journals. So beyond this, please don't go for our waste our time for preparation and waste our time for publishing, and don't waste your time money for paid journals. So it is a mere waste of time. It should have, it should be indexed in some this Scopus, Web of Science, or SCI. This category journals we can submit your paper for your publication, and then we can go for a book chapters or monograms. So this is not required uh, because if you are a very expert in that particular field, whatever, suppose if we are published 4 or 5 papers in a very good journals, that journal article we can go, the one module we can go for this book chapters. So that possibility is there. Okay. Then these are the some of the standard publishers as elsewhere, Kinvai, then Oxford, Sage, Taylor and Francis, InterScience, John Wiley, Springer, ASME. So these are some of the reputed publishers. So beyond that, there are so many. I am giving a few reputed publishers in this slide. Then, so how to select the journal? So how to select a journal for a particular area? So first we should understand the research area. So because most of the research submissions they have made it in a desk rejection. The desk rejection means the editor himself rejected the paper soon he received from the editorial office. So within a day they will reject. So that is the reason. The main reason is because of lack of research area, because of the totally deviate from the research area. Then it covers the title of scope. So if they, for example, the energy journal may cover renewable energy, energy efficiency, then energy performance assessment, those journals. But for some, for example, the thermal analysis is deviating from these energy journals. So for such things, the editor himself will reject the paper within the as a desk rejection. Then similar papers published. So suppose if we have the, before we are to selecting a journal, we should take care whether the similar papers have been published in that same journal or not. If the similar papers means not exact same, but it is a for performance enhancement studies, or for performance enhancement studies in a solar still, or performance enhancement studies in an automobile air conditioners. Such type of similar works have been already published. Then in that case, then we can go for that particular journal. Then number of volumes. So please think whether the number of volumes is very good. If it is 100 volumes or 50 volumes, or if it is more than that, then that journal is having very good reputation. And then it is whether it is, you can check whether it is indexed in Scopus, check whether it is indexed in Web of Science, or it's an SCI journal, and you can check whether it is having impact factor, or then we're checking whether it is having which publisher is publishing this journal, whether it may be a Sage or maybe a Science Direct or maybe a and say it's elsewhere, or maybe a Springer, or maybe a Taylor and Francis, or some InterScience, or some other. So check who is the publisher. Because elsewhere is having good reputation, because elsewhere is having a very good exploration, is having very good marketing. But the Springer is having less, but the Springer accessibility is very less. Taylor and Francis still it is less. InterScience it is still less. So there is a reason we have to select the publisher who is having very good reputation. It is very important. Then review processing time is where nowadays minimum 150 days is required. Some journal even recently I have completed more than 170 days, but still there is no review outcome. So still even I keep on insisting to give a opinion of my paper, but they are not giving but there is no response from their reviewers. There is no response from their from the editors. So the editor is very important. The review processing time, some it should be in 3-4 months is 120 days. It's an optimal one, but more than that, there's no other option. Some papers may take even 400 days, more than a year. 400 days, 450 days maybe. Sometimes more than a year. Normal average time it may be 4 to 6 months. Sometimes it may take more time because of like getting a reviewers. Getting a good reviewers is where it will take more time. Then impact factor, it is a very important factor. It needs to be kind of evaluate the journal reputation. So if the impact factor is good, then we'll go for that such type of journals. If the impact factor is less, means then but we can publish, but it's but now in future it is very important that how many publications are you having in the journals with high impact factor. Means high impact factor means more than 3-4. Nowadays the impact factors are totally all the journals gets increased. So 10 years back, the impact factor impact factor 2 is very big. Nowadays, the impact factor 7, 8 is very common. It is very, very common. All energy journals are having the impact factor of around 5 to 10. 5 to 10. 10 years back, it is the journal is having an impact factor of 0.6. Now, that journal is having an impact factor of 9. It's totally everything changed. So the impact factor means based on the citations. For example, 100 citations. For example, 600 citations from 300 articles in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, then it gives the impact factor of 2. 600 citations during last 2 years from 150 in the year 2006 and 150 in the year 2007. This 2-year citations will put together, that ratio is called the impact factor. That impact factor nowadays, most of the journals it gets increased. And if you're having a review article, then you will get a very good review journal means then we'll get a very good impact factor. For example, the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews journal is there. It is an exclusive review journal. So it's an exclusive review journal. That journal is having an impact factor of 12. It is a very high cited journal. Then so the impact factor alone is not an factor considered for the assessing the quality of an article. Even some articles in a highly reputed journal is not having a good quality. So that is also very I think. And all the types of articles. So we can say the articles, full length article, technical note communication, review article, and case studies. All the articles are to be citable. The citations based on all these type of articles are being considered. So this is an ethics in publications. There is an authorship. It should be limited. Who have really contributed for the study, we can include. Please don't include the partial contribution or maybe partial contributions. We can make an acknowledge it in the end of the paper. Please don't make the and please don't make author more than 4. If it is 4, it's acceptable. It's okay. Fifth means it's, the credit will not be shared. The credit is mere waste. So we may have a count, but it's of no use. So the reason is, if for an NIT or some central funded institutions assessment, they have only three authors. It's okay. 2 authors is good. Single author is excellent. If the single author is having 4 points, if 2 author means it can share as 2 plus 2. If it is more than 2, then the main author is get 2 points, and the remaining 2 points will get divided by n number of authors. If a 4 author means one author will get 2, and other 3 authors will get share these 2 points. So it's of no use. If it is about 5 authors, 6 authors, please don't entertain 4, 5 authors. If it is 4 authors, it's okay. Maximum, it's okay. If it is more than 4, then it's of no use for any authors. So it's better to limit to with 3 or 4 authors. So that is okay. That is very important. Then originality is very, very important. Then we have to, while we are writing the same article, the originality is very important. So originality means then even the writing a similar sentence, we can different way. Similar sentence, we can write it in different ways. So you can identify a meaning for that. We need some uh, uh, professional person to make the language correction. He should be a subject expert. He should be a subject expert. So getting an opinion from an English expert is not a good option. It's not a good option. Getting an opinion from English expert, we may give us some crude information, crude correction. So that is not correct, but we are getting a correction from getting a proofread from subject expert is very essential. So that is very, very important. And nowadays the authenticate and Urgund is not good, but authenticate check is very important, and you have to check twice, repeat, and you can identify the similarity words, try to change the words. For example, I am telling automobile air conditioner can also be written like vehicle air conditioner. Automobile air conditioner can also write like the vehicle air conditioner. And the temperature sensors we can make, we can say, we can it's also represented as temperature measuring sensors. With small changes, you can make it a small. Moreover, if you have a similarity word, moreover means in addition are also discussed. So these are some of the small changes we need to incorporate in the paper so that to avoid the plagiarism. So that is very important. And the data access. So authors should provide some experimental data in connected with the paper, and it should be made available to public access also. So sometimes we need for an experimental work, we need to provide the experimental data for the open access. But for that reason, some experimental results we can present in the form of table, so that will be better. Then multiple submissions is a very danger, because I experienced this multiple submissions, because parallelly I communicate to two different journals. My bad time, both the two submissions they went to the same reviewer, So both options have been totally. It was that reviewer has rejected the paper because the same paper has been already reviewed in the particular journal. So I am recommending for rejection. So in that he recommended rejection in two journals. So it is very important. Please don't go for multiple submissions. So that will be a big problem. It will create big problem. In acknowledgement, it should be we need to acknowledge our funding agencies. We need to acknowledge our funding agencies, because the funding agencies are so because the funding agencies uh, we need to acknowledge the funding agencies. For example, DST. It is mandatory to submit to cite the acknowledgement of the. So the authors would like to thank the DST for providing the funding to complete this research work. So with the DST sanction number, we need to be included in the acknowledgement. So it is very important. Nowadays, then only we can show that document for the DST outcome, or otherwise DST will not accept. So it's very mandatory. Nowadays, the DST is mandatory for to include the acknowledgement section. So in some journals, they're asking the acknowledgement session or any funding sources they're asking. So, but for that reason, it is better to go for acknowledging the funding agencies. It is very important. And so errors in the publishing, or please take at least 3, 4 for normally I made 5 corrections. Normally, I made 5 corrections from the scratch to final draft. 5 corrections is very, very essential. Grammar proof is some of they are accepting. The data correct data, it is very important. So instead of the 5.6 percentage, if we are mentioning as a 2.2 percentage, then it is a total, it's a very big blunder mistake. So we cannot justify it's a typographical error. So it is very important. So please go through the paper twice, thrice, 5 times you have to refine the paper. So if come to my place, suppose if you have a chance, I will show my corrected papers. So I have a bunch of corrected articles. So 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's a waste of paper. Please understand. You take it in at least 4, 5 proofs we need to be worked. 4, 5 proofs, then only we can the paper will come to some submission form. Then otherwise it's very difficult. So if making 1 or 2 corrections, it will not get good refined output. Then we'll come to the what are the different types of articles we can submit for our journal. So we can generally we can have a full length article. Full length article or maybe an original article, that means it is a comprehensive research investigation. So it starts from for example complete experimentation, modeling, validation, then complete how it should have some technical novelty, it should have some technical economical feasibility, it should have some environmental viability. So everything it should be completely, it should be assessed in a full length research article, which is really allowed for a 8,000 words. 8,000 word count is allowable for a full length research article. Then it's called a technical note communication is also there. The technical note communication, we can make an attempt for a case study to make an performance improvement. Technical note means it's a very 1,500 words only. So very simple work which addresses the performance improvement, which will be addressing the performance improvement of a small case study, so small work which we can address, and then we can make it as a case studies is observed in the industries, and we can make a case study to implement a new concept in an existing experimental setup, and then we can make a so that is a technical note and case studies. It's more or less having the same articles. Then a rapid communication or maybe a short communication. So suppose if we want to communicate the rapid communication, 1 month we will get the output. The review process will complete at as soon as possible. The main purpose of the short communication or rapid communication is uh, to identify to make a um, uh, uh, just to register our contribution. So it's like a to firstly we are registering for because um, in a particular topic, 4 5 persons are working on the same topic. One may get for the result fast, so he want to register that one. So for that reason, we can go for that short communication. There are many journals. So many journals and regular normal journals are having the short communication facilities. Some journals are having exclusive letters communication. For example, material letters is there. Material letters are having only 4 page journal page is allowed. Only for 2,000 to 2,500 words is allowed to present the precious output. Just you can make a very simple analysis, and we can make a simple justifications in that short communication. Then we can come for the review papers. It is a very interesting, and I suggest only for the new research scholars we can give these assignments because I done nearly 10 review articles, especially in the field of refrigerants, artificial neural networks, and also for the renewable energy water pumping systems and heat pumps I made. But the main thing is um, in such type of review articles, one can make a very comprehensive information. We can collect a more lot of review on the different areas, and we can make a summarize the. If you read a review article, one can become an one can by reading one article, you can have a feel of reading 100 articles because here the review paper is contains an output of 100 research articles. So now writing a review paper is is good for a research scholar at the beginning. So please don't waste the time after completing all our comprehensive examinations. Please don't waste the time for the writing a review paper. It is better to go ahead with the research work. So writing the review article is a very good assignment for a research scholar, but he'll develop the confidence. Once we are free, then we can go over in depth on the review articles. They will develop a confidence level in that particular field. Then will become more papers to review. If you get more papers to review, then we can have a chance to learn new information. We'll get so many benefits out of it. So there's a and then conference reports. So that we can make a one, for example, the major conferences if we are conducting in a particular topic, then we can make a conference report. So, for example, if we made a conference on renewable energy, so what is the major output I observed out of this conference? I made it as a two-page report. We can recommend for some renewable energy journal. That is also possible to their publishing it in a journal. So then book reviews is a very interesting one. So we can write a comment on 500 to 1000 words on a particular published papers or maybe a softwares or maybe a journal article even. And the published books, we can make a short comment. So short comment means for the strength and weakness of that particular textbooks. That possibilities is there. Letter to editor is also very important. If we have a chance to comment the paper which is already published in the journal, so we can comment the paper and we can make a confidential letter to the editor, and that will be also published online. And so this is the scheme of arranging this our research article. It starts with title, affiliations, the professional affiliations. There are 2 or 3 professional affiliations are allowed. For example, if Mohan Raj is affiliated to the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Hindustan College of Engineering and Technology, it's okay, one affiliation. But that affiliation, additionally, we can have one more affiliation, then it's possible. Department of Mathematics and Department of Mechanics and Mathematics, Al-Farabi Kazakhstan National University, Almaty, Republic of Kazakhstan. So that possibility. So we can add on 2, 3 affiliations. It is possible to add. So if we can 2, 3, it is possible. So please don't go more number of affiliations. That will create a lot of confusions in future. Then abstract, it should be a very it's an open source information for any journal. It's an open source information. So the writing abstract, we need more skill. So it should be within 200 words. We need to communicate our complete methodology, complete output, experimentation, everything. It should be highlighted in the abstract. So for writing an abstract, we need more skill, and also so how to make this that within 200 words. We should we should present complete scope. What is the scope of the paper? Methodology adopted. What are the improvements observed? Uh, so this information it should be present in this abstract since it's an open source information. They have to be very important, and we should present the research highlights. So how to present the research highlights nowadays? The elsewhere journals they are asking the research highlights because instead of going through the whole paper, if you go through this research highlights, then it will be very good. For that reason, it is research highlights are mandatory for a journal which is published in elsewhere journals. Then keywords is a very sensitive thing because what is the core area of your work? For example, if a core area of work is vehicle air conditioner, then vehicle air conditioner it should be on keyword. Refrigerants, it should be on keyword. The core word, so the core information of your research article, it should be a keyword. It should be a keyword because the words which are repeatedly it is appeared in your paper, we can identify that is a keyword. Which is a core area of the work, that is a keyword. At least you can identify 4 to 5 keywords for a research article. It is mandatory. And the introduction, it should be a brief information about your research work and the earlier work done. What is the objective of the present work? How the methodology is being carried out? Everything it should be present in the introduction. And then materials and methods or modeling or maybe experimentation. It should be in section 2. It should then data analysis or there may be a thermodynamic analysis, energy analysis, etc. Whatever may be the analysis you have made in your paper, then we can present the list of equations, which may be heat transfer analysis or maybe whatever may be. But all those analysis, it should be the equations used in the for that particular analysis. It should be listed and should be listed, and it should be sequentially. It should be numbered. And the results and discussion, it is very important because it is very essential for a research article. The research, it should be properly discussed, or otherwise it's incomplete one. The research should be justified. But this is I observe. Normally, I give a comment on my review. The result should be justified with some justified. That means whatever you are telling. So this is the improvement we are observed. What is the reason? Or what is the reason for that improvement? So this is the performance lagging. This is 5% less lower power when comparing to the existing. Why? So what is scope for improving that performance? So those justification, it should be present in the your results and discussion. For that reason, the experimental observations, whatever you observe, and it should be compared with other research investigations, and it should be how to improve. We have to give some suggestions to scope for improving the performance. So then only that results and discussion, it should be complete. Then performance variations, why we have to justify the variations, why this variations is like this. And then result validation, definitely all the experimental work, it should be validated with similar investigations reported by others, or the analytical results, it should be validated with the experimental results observed in the research work. So some validation, it should be present. And then conclusion. So what are the major outcomes of the paper? It should be present in a conclusion. In most of the papers, they are expecting the conclusions in a bullet form. But in some, I received one comment from journal Energy for Sustainable Development. They're giving a comment. So the bullet points is only meant for PowerPoint presentation. For bullet point conclusion is only meant for PowerPoint presentation. For a journal article, for a research article, it should be in a paragraph form. So refine the conclusion like that. So I was shocked. But when in another journal, it's a renewable energy, something I forget that one. In the journal, they're asking that it should be in the conclusion, the outcome of the research work, it should be listed in a bullet point. So that paper is asking like that, but it's an opinion of reviewer. So according to me, it is better to give it the outcome, major outcomes. So, for example, I observed this 5% improvement when comparing to the other reported studies. I have observed 10% improvement, 5% improvement. These are the weak components. These are the inefficient components in the system. Like that, we can give some generalized conclusion, and it should be, uh, and it should have option to, it should have an option to have some further research scope. Then the acknowledgement is very essential in all the paper, because acknowledging the persons who are really supporting for your research work, and the acknowledgement for the funding agencies, acknowledgement for the institutions who are supporting your research work. So these things we can give it in an acknowledgement. And the nomenclature is also very important, because if it involves more equations, then we can go for nomenclature. And it is and presenting all the terms, all the constants and variables in the equation itself is very difficult. For that reason, the nomenclature is very important, and the nomenclature along with the unit. So along with the unit, for example, sometimes you may use it in terms of joules, sometimes it may be in terms of kilojoules. So it's very specific. You have to mention the nomenclature with specific unit. Then reference, at least 25 to 30 references are expected for a full-length research article. For a review article, at least 100 plus reference is mandatory. 100 plus is mandatory. So then the reference, it should be an 100 to during the last 5 years, it preferably. But if it is more than that, it's okay, but it should be justified. And then list of figures, at least normally in any journal article, they're expecting 10 illustrations, 10 illustrations, 2 to 3 tables. Please don't make 10 tables, 15 tables. It's of no use. It's of no use. and don't make it more than 30 figures. Even my article has been rejected because of the more illustrations. It is very difficult to read, or it is very difficult to read that information. So one reviewer is giving a comment like that. So it's, too many figures, too many illustrations is not good for a technical article. So for that reason, it's an optimal one. It's a 10 illustration is more than sufficient for a technical article, and figures 2 to 3 figures you can submit for the initial submission. After the initial submission, during the first review process, they may ask some more tables. Then we can increase it to 4 or 5. Then it's okay. But it is better to limit with the tables with 2 or 3. Please don't go for that more than that. Then supporting documents. Nowadays, most of the journals they're asking the author contribution. For example, if you are having a 4 5 authors, then each what is the contribution of each author? For example, author one, name of the, for example, Mohan Raj. For example, Mohan Raj is a conceptual development and writing. Author two, experimentation and performance evaluation. Author three, then review of the literature and problem identification. Author four, experimental validation. Author five. Like that, we need the contribution, specific contribution of each author needs to be submitted, and which can be supported. We can submit as the supporting documents. Sometimes we may have an uh, separate documents like figures and some documents. For example, if we're having 20 25 figures, then we can limit to 10 figures, and remaining 10 figures we can submit as the supporting documents, like that. So supporting documents, these are the documents we can submit as a supporting documents. Then paper formulation. So we have to make it in a reverse way. First we have to formulate the figures and tables. Then we have to write the discussions and results and discussion. We have to write the results and discussion. Then we can make a conclusion. Then data analysis and interpretation equations, which we are using this, we can present here. And then write this paper in a reverse way. So first thing is to formulate the table is the first activity you have to develop. Then make a results and discussion. Then make a conclusion. Then we can consolidate the equations which are used for this experimental analytical analysis. Then formulate, describe your experimental setup. Then we can make the introduction. Then we can make an abstract. Then we can make a title. So this should be a way which we can make it for the paper formulation. And the research highlights, as we already should have now. I made these remaining slides more fast. The main thing is it should have 85 characters, including space. Each research highlight should be limited within 85 characteristics, including spaces. It may be having the 3 to 5 bullet points. Please don't make more than 5 bullet points. Then abstract, it is an advertisement of your article, or it is a standalone. Standalone means please don't make any abbreviations in the abstract. For example, ANN. ANN means artificial neural network. So please don't make the abbreviated term as ANN, because everybody is reading that abstract. Because even though ANN is a well-established abbreviation, it should not be present in the abstract. The reason is it's a standalone information. So it's an open source information. So it is very important. It should not be a abbreviation should not be allowed, and then it should include the key findings, and it should have some precise meaning, and it's a strong influence of your research work. So that is very important, and it should be limited with 200 words. Some journals are accepting up to 300 words, but it should not be more than 200 words. It's better to limit with 200 words. The graphical abstract, nowadays the graphical abstract is very attracting one. So to attract the readers. So, for example, sometimes you may have some schematic layout of your experimental setup is a good option. We can project it as the graphical abstract. Some important results we can project it as a graphical abstract. some same image, some sort of XRD results, some core information which we need to make it as an open source. For example, some image, if you want to make it as, if you are interesting to make it as an open source, it is better to make it as a graphical abstract. It should be submitted in a form of a TIFF file. It should have very good pixels, and it should be a very high. It should have more pixels. Then keywords, as we already discussed in the earlier introduction, which you already discussed in the earlier, and experiment methods, which you already discussed in earlier. The illustrations. So now there is very important. I made this as one article, and this is my own illustrations. This illustration, it should be more precious and it should be more attractive, because of poor illustration, poor schematic illustration, some of my articles have been rejected. So the illustration is very important. So the illustration should be clear, and it should be easy to read this, and it should have some attractive. So this type of images we can present it as the graphical abstract, and it should have some standard wordings. It should have standard font used inside this schematic illustrations. So that is very important, and it should have very good resolution. So please don't make it in copy it in Paint and we can paste. So if we make it copy it in Paint, means totally everything will be the image will be get spoiled. And then tables, please don't make the tables more than 3 or 4. So if it is a 3, 2 itself is very good. So if it is more than 2, then it's very difficult. If they ask, if they're doing review process, they may ask to extend, increase the tables. Then you can go for it. Or otherwise, please limit with 2 tables. And it should be all the tables. It should be cited in the text. Or otherwise, then a table should be totally detachable. Then and the results and discussions, it should be at least 8 graphical illustrations should be present, and each graphical illustration, if it is more than that, if it is more than, it is better to merge the figures as 1A, 1B like that. And it should be, and the image should be a comparative discussion should be made, and and should be validated with the other reported studies or other and the scientific justification should be given to all the graphical illustrations made in the results and discussion section. The graphical illustrations, so it should be like this. Graphical illustration, it should have good aspect ratio. It should have good aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio means in a A4 page you can present 2 graphical illustrations. So this is a graphical graph which we can indicate. This is one type of graphical illustration. This is another type. This is a same image. This all it should have high resolution. See this. This is a poor illustration. So this image is having a poor illustration. It's not good. It's not good. If we can increase it, if we can enlarge its size, then it's totally it will get scared. It will be spoiled. So it is very essential to make these schematic illustrations more precise, and it should be more clear. The discussion means, so you have to compare with others' results, and you should make an error analysis. The many manuscripts have been rejected because of poor discussion. Whatever the results you are obtained, it should be justified. It should be justified with some appropriate comparisons, or it should be compared with other investigations, and we can justify achieve 5% improvement, 10% improvement. Like that, we need to justify. So, or otherwise, or otherwise, it become a discussion. Without discussion means it's a mere presenting your results is not at all a discussion. So, discussion, because of poor discussion, many research articles have been rejected. So I also rejected some articles which is having a poor discussion, which is not having a good comparison with other results. So it's very important, and it is very essential to compare with other results. So that is also, if you are lagging in that, then it will be a big problem. Then conclusion, please don't repeat the conclusions and repeat the abstract in the conclusion. And here, judge the strength and weakness of your the research work. For example, if I'm saying I'm trying to say uh, so, so, some for example R430 I'm suggesting as a good refrigerant for an automobile air conditioner. What is the strength of the refrigerant? What is the strength weakness of that refrigerant? I should be justified in the conclusion. So this is a strength, but you should be having this weakness. But this can be tackled by this way. So some solution should be given. So the final outcome of your research work, final conclusion of your research work, this is the by introducing this methodology, we can improve the performance of the system by 10%, and thereby we can have this much energy savings. Thereby we can have this much cost savings. So slightly it will be deviating from the um, slightly it is deviating from the abstract. It's like formatting the course objectives and formatting the course outcomes. Like that, we have this difference is there. An acknowledgement, we already discussed this one. Reference styles, normally, no journal is having a standard reference style. Normally, authors followed by initials, journal article title, year of publication, volume number, page number. This is the standard thing you can follow. If not, so this we can follow. So after the first during the first submission, please don't waste your time for formatting the reference style. Or otherwise, we can go for the Manly. Manly will make the according to the journal type. If you type the journal name, and we can go for this Manly to the you can simply we can it can segregate this reference styling according to the journal requirements. Please don't waste your time at the initial stage. You can at the time of final second stage submission, we can go for it. And use of DOI is highly acknowledged, but it is very difficult to tap. Possibility is there, you can go for it. Otherwise, please don't use DOI. Possibility is there. It is not mandatory. Then reference style used in journal is applied to the normally the journal style used by the journal will be applied to the accepted article by the journal at the proof stage. Definitely, if you not provide the journal proper style, they will formulate and then they will provide at the proof stage. They will make all the corrections. Okay. Then corresponding author, it is very important. Who is the whole responsible for that paper? That person should be a corresponding author. Please don't. He may be a supervisor or he may be a student. Other than this, if somebody is there, then maybe subject expert may be there. So other than this, please don't go for it, because if you are a corresponding author, you will receive the review invitations. You will receive review invitations for the paper review. Then you will become a reviewer. If you become a reviewer, then we'll have a chance to have a lot of advantages. If you are a good reviewer in Science Direct, then you will get regular paper review. Then you can have a chance to access the Science Direct articles 30 days. So I received every month I received 10 to 20 articles I received for review. So throughout the year I have a Science Direct access, so I can access. That is my advantage. So I'm a corresponding author in many of my journal articles. There is a reason I received it. Okay. So the corresponding author is better to have a person who is having a research exposure, and who may be a supervisor or maybe a scholar. And similarity check, it is very important, and the plagiarism is very important. Authenticate software is the only software which we can use it for similarity check or to avoid the repeatability. The similarity check, it should be less than 15%. It should be less than 15%. If it is more than that, then we have to go for the the paper will not be accepted. That paper will not be accepted for the pre-review. Pre-review, before that they are rejected in by the editor itself. So during the initial processing, after submitting the paper, that paper is converted into PDF. Then the editorial office will make the complete similarity check using Authenticate software. So it is better to go for the Authenticate similarity check, and then we can find out the similarity weights. Then we can go for change that similarity weights. Uh, then we can go for the submission. So in most of the research articles, suppose in the first paper it will not be a big problem. If you are going to submit another paper in the same topic, then it will be a big problem. So then most of the sections, for example, experimentation sections will be repeated. In that case, we need to be checked thoroughly, and we need to change the weights. So even I myself, I have faced a problem. This problem when I submitted my automobile air conditioning first paper, there won't be any problem. So when I submitted the second paper, then having more than 40% similarity check. Then I made change this terminology. So instead of automobile air conditioner, I made it as a vehicle air conditioner. So such type of changes will make some similarity to reduce the similarity weights. That will ultimately end up with reducing the algorithm. Okay. Then types of peer review process. So it may be a single blind review, double blind review, triple blind review. So single blind review means authors will not know the names of reviews. Most of the journals they are doing this single blind review. In some journals, the authors and reviewers don't know. Suppose and elsewhere they are doing a single blind review process. Authors know the editorial office itself. They remove the author name and they remove the author name. So the editor also doesn't know the um, author, and author doesn't know the reviewer name. So there is a called triple review process, and then whatever the review process, review comments, the editor decision is the final decision. So nothing else. So if the editor, even one or two reviewer is recommending for rejection, if the editor is possible to accept the paper, then it is possible. So the editor decision is the final. Even the another thing is called the desk rejection. Means the paper may be rejected because of high similarity content, high repeatability weights, or poor technical content, or poor novelty, or if it is a substandard paper, if it is a presentation is not good, that paper has been rejected by the editor itself. It's called desk rejection. So there is a, and this is a review process. It is taking place in normally for submitting a paper, then we can go for two, three reviewers. Then the reviewer giving the input to the editor. The editor will decide if it is a if it is a reject, then it gives an output to the author. If not, then it gives to the revise the paper. Decision is given to the author. Then author has to process the paper and complete. This is a review process is taking place in a journal. And then we'll come to the patent, and the journal article is different form, and patent is another different form. What is the difference between journal and patent? Means journal we have we can publish it as publish the output, but we will not get any revenue. Patent we can file, and we can, it is possible to generate some revenue out of it. Suppose if our idea is very innovative and it is having a very good market value, and it is a current need of the present scenario. For example, if it is some high temperature heat pumps, I am telling high temperature heat pumps, we can develop a prototype, test the prototype, and file the patent. So this is my new innovation, and this patent, and some industries require. Some manufacturers they may have chance to start manufacturing such type of products. So such product is having a commercial value. So, wow, so based on the number of product manufacturers, we may get some royalty out of it. So, or otherwise, in a journal publication, it is will not get any revenue out of it. So, just it is a mere of just it is a mere of sorry. It's a just it's a, we can publish, we may get the credit itself. And what research impact out of it? So we need with the citations. So citation means referring our research article by others, referring our research articles by others referring our research articles by others. So how many articles where others can refer, so that that is called the citations. So citation is a very important thing nowadays, because how many articles you have been now if NAC and NBA they are asking the citation indexes. So it is mandatory to publish the paper. After publishing the paper, we should promote our articles to increase the citations. So for this, the H index or the I10 index are there. So H index means the number of articles having being the n number of papers and n number of articles having the n number of citations, that is called H index. And I10 index means the articles which are having more than 10 citations is called the I10 index. And so these are this we had got it from the research gate. So this is we can calculate the H index and the I10 index. This is a long back I got this one. Research gate citations, it's around 31.62. It's long back, 6 months back I got this one. It's also 6 months back I got this Google Scholar citations like this. Here we are calculating this H index and I10 index. Nowadays, these indexes are mandatory for an NAC and NBA accreditations and Scopus citations. So this is also the Scopus citations. So this is the uh, number of citations, and this is the number of H index papers. And this is how to prepare the research funding proposals. So after publishing few papers, at least we need 10 to 15 papers in a particular field for writing a research proposal. Or otherwise, it is not possible. It is very difficult to write a research proposals. That research proposal, it should have some novel ideas. It should have some real requirement for the current scenario. For such topics, we can identify and we can formulate some 4 5 objectives, and we can prepare a very good detailed methodology how to execute the project work, and we can prepare a realistic budget, and we can make a detailed review on that particular topic, and then we can present the research gap, and then we should prepare the detailed work plan for the period of 2 years or maybe a period of 3 years, and we should have a detailed budget with justifications. For example, I need a 4 lakhs. For example, I need a 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs. What is the each that 4 lakhs, it should be justified. So what is the need for that money? So how we are utilizing that money? So what is the output we are expecting? So all this realistic information, it should be present. So we have so this itself, it is a very good we can present in detail. But right now, because of lack of time, I am cut short these things. And then these are the funding agencies which we are aware. This thing is a very common information for preparing the CV for a funded projects. Okay, thank you for your showing interest in this presentation. If you are having any further queries, if anything, please feel free to ask. எப்படிங்க புரியல சார் அது வந்து கண்டென்ட் சிமிலாரிட்டி இருக்கக்கூடாது. கண்டென்ட் சிமிலாரிட்டி இருந்தது அப்படின்னா இட் இஸ் நாட் பாசிபிள் டு சப்மிட். If having the two different content is different போடலாம். எவ்வளவு any number of papers போடலாம். Parallel we can submit any number of papers, but it should be different content.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you use any citation tools, sir? Like, இப்போ நிறைய citation tools எல்லாம் யூஸ் பண்றாங்க இல்லையா? அதை நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணலாமா சார் while writing the paper?
Citations tools பார்த்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு ஸ்கோபஸ்லேயே ஒரு செப்பரேட் citation tool is there. Scopus www.scopus.com போட்டுட்டீங்கன்னா then we can create your own ID within affiliation of our institution. Then the Scopus itself, they will collect all the Scopus indexed articles னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Scopus indexed articles பப்ளிஷ் ஆகக்கூடிய பேப்பர் எல்லாத்துலேயுமே அந்த citations ட்ராக் பண்ணி கொடுக்கணும். Google Scholar, you can develop a Google Scholar ID and then you can and the Google Scholar will automatically tap all the articles which were published in your name. For that reason, they have a unique ID. ARCHIT ID is there. So ARCHIT ID, Scopus author ID is there. So if we have all these IDs, then we can the Scopus itself will track all the our publications. So அதனால நம்ம வந்து நம்ம இது ரெண்டு தான் மேண்டேட்டரிங். அண்ட் தென் வெப் ஆஃப் சயின்ஸ் இருக்குங்க. வெப் ஆஃப் சயின்ஸ் இஸ் அனதர் ஐடி, அனதர் ஃபார்ம் விச் we can collect all this our publication citations. சரிங்களா? ஸோ இது மூணு தான் மேண்டேட்டரி. ரிசர்ச் கேட்டு கூகுள் ஸ்காலர்லாம் வந்து இப்போ யாரும் அதிகமாக யூஸ் பண்ணுறது இல்லைங்க. ஸோ இது வெப் ஆஃப் சயின்ஸு, ஸ்கோபஸ், தென் ஆர்ச்சிட், இது மூணு தான். இது மூணும் இன்டர்லிங்க் பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க.
ஓகே சார். சார் ஆர்ச்சிட் ஐடினாக்கா அப்ப நான் வந்துட்டு எப்படி சார் எனக்கு அதுல வந்துட்டு நான் ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்றது? லைக் லாகின்
ஆர்ஜிட் ஐடியில் நீங்கள் www.arjit இதில் போனீங்கனாலே, இந்த வெப்சைட்குள்ளே போனீங்கனால உங்களோட டீட்டெயில்ஸ் எல்லாம் கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக லிங்க் ஆகிடும். உங்களோட பப்ளிகேஷன் உள்ள போனீங்கனாலே செல்ஃப் இதாக தான் இருக்கும். புதுசாக நம்ம நத்திங் நியூங்க. ஈஸிலி யூ கேன் ரெஜிஸ்டர்.
ஓகே சார், தேங்க்யூ சார், தேங்க்யூ.
சொல்லுங்க. இந்த சமயத்துல வந்து ஒரு கடுப்பு. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.